Hello to all of you watching this. This presentation was prepared by the stewards of the Volusia Watermen's Association, Teamsters Local 385, on your behalf and with your input to present to Public Protection Administration. On May 10th, 2019, Public Protection Director Joe Pozzo gave us a challenge to come back in 1 week with a proposal for reorganizing the command staff of Volusia County Beach Safety. To start with, we looked first at where we are now. At present, we have 2 deputy chief positions and 3 captain positions, with various separate roles and duties assigned to them over time. Next, we considered where we are going. He presented us with a draft of a future organizational structure, and we examined it in depth. We looked at where its strengths are and where it could still use improvement. Finally, we thought about where we can be. We would like to see a more streamlined command structure with clearer roles and duties befitting their rank. And to that end, we proposed in our last meeting 4 captains all under 1 deputy chief with a watch commander system in place and captain oversight of administrative functions. So this is our current organizational chart. It probably does not look like it to you, but it is there. For ease of this presentation, we removed the operations officers and specialists since they are not part of this conversation. This format lets us compare different solutions in an apples-to-apples format. You will find a full-page copy in your packet that you may find easier to read. In our current model, we noticed a few issues. Currently, we have 2 relief sergeant positions that are not being utilized except on an intermittent basis. Most of the administrative functions are not under the Deputy Chief of Administration. Training, investigations, and evidence all fall under the Deputy Chief of Operations. And inventory control, support services, and the Senior Staff Assistant fall directly under the Chief. The training captain has, at current count, 6 employees that he must directly supervise, in addition to supervising the many intermittent trainers, instructors, field training officers, recruiters, and more. This leaves him little time to actually teach training classes. The beach is divided geographically by north and south. This divide is arbitrary. It is said that these captains' roles serve to bridge the gap between shifts. But in conversations with supervisors, this gap is bridged by a simple text, email, or phone call at the end of the shift. The second in command of this entire agency is tasked with serving as the daily supervisor for the whole beach. As the captains are off performing administrative and logistical tasks for their separate areas of the beach, it falls on the deputy chief to be the head supervisor for the beach. This role in other agencies is called a watch commander, and is typically filled by a lieutenant or a captain. And finally, this model suffers from asymmetry, where different command staff have different workloads than others. Now let us take a look at the draft org chart that was presented to us. This model solves some of the problems from the previous one. For instance, it separates training from the supervision of night shift, giving the training sergeant more time to focus on training. It also puts most administrative functions under a captain rather than a deputy chief, and rather than being as spread out as it was. However, this model does not solve every problem. Some administrative functions are still listed directly under the chief rather than under the administrative captain, dividing administration into 2 sections. It also divides the beach geographically north and south, but this time instead of both super districts being under 1 deputy chief, they are under 2 deputy chiefs, creating even more division between 2 arbitrarily chosen areas. Now that the deputy chiefs are divided by north and south, this makes the single captains under each deputy chief superfluous in nature. The deputy chiefs would only directly supervise 1 to 2 people, or would more directly supervise their areas, making the captains merely well-paid assistants. This model also still has many functions under the supervision of the training coordinator, in this case a sergeant. This takes time away from his work in administering and coordinating training. A common complaint among line staff is the perception that the training coordinator is too busy with other functions to adequately focus on training itself. This model also only has one night shift sergeant. While one is better than the current none, this does limit the effectiveness of supervision during nighttime hours. Whether it be on 8 or 10-hour shifts, it leaves portions of the night and some entire nights wholly unsupervised. Will a scheduler make sure that the sergeant is scheduled on the nights when major crimes happen and let them take off on the nights when we know will be uneventful? Many people have also raised concerns with scheduling falling under only one of the two deputy chiefs. This would create conflicts where the scheduler and deputy chief on the opposite end of the org chart may be making decisions for vacation requests, mandates, and more. In short, the biggest issue seen with this model is that there is no one person in charge of operations. That role then falls to the chief. For an agency of our size, with 72 full-time positions, the chief should not have to concern himself with bridging any such gaps, as a chief's role is to focus on the broader strategies and big picture of our agency. So where can we be? We examined different possibilities and came up with two models. The first is the functional proposal, which we will focus on, where positions are based on job functions rather than geography. The second is the lean proposal, which is an even more streamlined version, which we will go over at the end. Let us dive right into the functional proposal, which you will find in your packet. This proposal, per Mr. Pozzo's request, is a model showing 4 captains under a single deputy chief. We implemented a watch commander system to cover daily operations and created a logistics section to bridge the gap between administration and operations. This model is roughly budget neutral, and we'll explain how that works. More importantly, this model frees up the captains to do captain level work. It also makes use of upfilling to streamline our structure into a high performance agency while providing valuable experience to line personnel. There's a lot going on with that chart, but what has changed? Let us break down some of the major functions of this new model and why they're important. The first major change will be how the deputy chief functions. In this model, the deputy chief will no longer be tied down with daily supervisory duties. The second in command of the agency need not patrol on a daily basis because he will have command staff below him to handle that. Instead, the deputy chief is able to focus on broader operational and administrative strategies. He would create the frameworks within which the captains would manage their sections. Additionally, the deputy chief would be responsible for putting the chief's strategic vision into action, delegating tasks across sections as need be. The deputy chief would set the policies and standing orders for the scheduler, who would report directly to him. It's important to have the scheduling unit report directly to the deputy chief, as the impact of scheduling is so broad. On a day-to-day basis, daily scheduling tasks would be done by the scheduler in collaboration with the watch commanders, who may further collaborate with their sergeants as needed. For larger tasks, such as building the schedule, the deputy chief would be the final arbiter. The deputy chief would also give the final approval on training and vacation requests. It has been discussed that sergeants might have more input in these decisions, especially in off-season months, in which case the deputy chief would establish those conditions. It is important to have a single final decision maker to ensure consistency, fairness, and accuracy. Finally, one of the roles command staff take in our agency is chairing the various committees. The committee with one of the broadest scopes and greatest importance is the Safety Committee, and the Deputy Chief is best suited to oversee this function. Next, let us take a look at what is new with the captains. Under our proposed model, we would have 4 captains with 4 new roles for those captains. Each captain will be initially assigned a role, and then all of the captains would rotate those roles annually. Any newly hired captains would be placed in the Alpha Shift Watch Commander role. After a year, they would rotate to the Charlie Shift Watch Commander role. A year after that, they would move to the Logistics Captain role. And finally, in their 4th year, they would slide into the Administrative Captain role. Each captain will have a uniform set of skills with which to start. For example, each captain will be properly trained and equipped to serve as a public information officer or as an incident commander at any major event. Each captain will have clearer duties with responsibilities defined by function, not by geography. In doing so, work is less likely to be duplicated, and our agency will perform better because each captain will be able to focus on their area of control. So how will these watch commanders work? There will be two of them, one per shift, Alpha shift and Charlie shift, with each responsible for the entire beach during their day. The watch commanders will work on 12-hour shifts. This means that they are there before the beach opens to cars and around after it closes. Many line personnel will tell you that some of our most severe incidents occur in the late afternoon and early evening. Some of this is based on activity levels, energy levels, and, at times, alcohol levels. This schedule ensures that you have a potential incident commander available for when the vast majority of incidents occur. By starting in the watch commander role, it starts a new captain with what they are most familiar, which would be line supervision, just on a broader scale. By rotating across both shifts, it ensures that the sergeants work with both commanders at some point so that there is consistency in what each shift expects. During the day, the watch commander will oversee all operations. For the most part, they will leave the details of supervision to their sergeants. A good watch commander gives their sergeants the knowledge, instructions, and resources to carry out most functions. The watch commander would only need to step in if they identify a problem that the sergeant may have missed, or in major events when the scope of the issue is beyond what the sergeant can handle. Along that same vein, it's important to have a command-level person on scene for major incidents such as drownings, vehicle versus pedestrian accidents, riots, etc. This is a function we already have, but presently placed with the deputy chief. The watch commander would meet with a scheduler to make sure that the daily schedule meets the needs of the mission. Scheduling is a beach-wide function, as at times specialists, officers, and lifeguards may need to cross over district lines to fill unexpected vacancies, depending on which district has a shortfall. Finally, the watch commanders would supervise the two committees most directly connected to operations. One watch commander would chair the Response to Resistance Committee, while the other would chair the Awards Committee. As the watch commanders are most likely to be on scene at events where force is used and where meritorious actions are performed, they are best suited to oversee these committees. At night, the two 12-hour night shift sergeants would be in command, giving you complete supervision of the beach. Every hour of the day, every day of the week. With every sergeant assigned an active supervisory role, who will fill in for our vacancies? The recently implemented upfilling program, which allows field training officers to temporarily fill sergeant roles, eliminates the need for relief sergeants. Okay, that's operations, but what about administration? Unlike our watch commanders, who have fewer regular duties in exchange for longer hours and more unexpected work, the administrative captain would oversee a variety of functions. We all know that one of the most important functions of a division's administration is the budget, and that will be assigned to the administrative captain. Of course, no one person can handle the budget on their own, and they would get assistance from the administration staff, as well as guidance from the deputy chief and the chief. Accreditation is another important aspect of administration, lending credibility to our agency's operation. For our agency's size, however, accreditation is not a full-time job. Unfortunately, the trend has been to put it off until the end of the period when staff must then rush to complete it. Properly managed, accreditation can be nibbled away at over a 3-year period in small bites assigned to different people. The administrative captain will be responsible for overseeing accreditation, while the senior staff assistant would handle much of the work, assigning it to various people as needed. Our current accreditation manager has already drafted a proposal for accomplishing this. The administrative captain would oversee investigations, evidence, records, and the front desk. You will notice I did not mention training, and I'll get to that in a moment. Additionally, the senior staff assistant and human resources assistant would fall under this captain, as this unifies administrative functions under one commander. Because the administrative captain oversees accreditation, they are best suited to chair the policy review committee, which is where much of accreditation workload is handled. The final section in our model is logistics. Logistics is the bridge between administration and operations, putting the much-needed resources into the hands of those who will use them. The logistics captain will oversee inventory. Logistics staff will be responsible for not just purchasing and stocking inventory at headquarters, but at all stations. This will free up your operations personnel from their regular chores of stocking station and EMS equipment, chores that take them away from their operational mission. The logistics captain will oversee our fleet of vehicles and vessels from their initial acquisition through their maintenance and repairs until their final disposition. The logistics captain will oversee our agency's special functions, including the special teams, the Marine unit, the juniors program, and our recruitment efforts. The logistics captain will oversee the training unit. With a logistics captain, the training coordinator does not need to be a captain or sergeant, but may be an officer. This person will be responsible for writing curricula, planning classes, acting as the primary instructor, and coordinating with other field training officers, instructors, and trainers. When needed, the logistics captain will provide them with the necessary resources to perform these tasks. By removing supervision out of the training coordinator, it frees them up to focus on teaching. The logistics section will include an all-inclusive technology and logistics specialist. This person will assist inventory in station supplies, assist records in gathering paperwork, and will make sure that all of our technology, including computers, radios, printers, radars, lidars, and other technology, are accounted for and functioning as well as possible. This person will have a strong background in information technology. I do not think that I need to mention any names for everyone to know who already does this. However, this position does not need to be a special risk position, and indeed its current occupant has indicated openness to returning to an operations role. In addition to these supervisory duties, the logistics captain will be the agency's primary public information officer. All captains will be capable of performing PIO duties, but the logistics captain will perform these duties during normal business hours. Additionally, they would manage our agency's social media, recruitment advertising, and broader media strategies. Outside of those hours, on weekends, or when the situation dictates, the watch commander may serve as the PIO for a particular incident. Due to their roles in both public information and in overseeing training, the logistics captain would chair the recruitment and retention committee and would be the main person responsible for our agency's recruitment of new employees. And finally, the logistics captain would function as a relief captain. They would assist the administrative captain with functions like budget and accreditation so that when they take over that role in a year, they will have the skills to excel at it. If a watch commander position needs to be filled, such as for vacation, training, or illness, the logistics captain would fill that role. The logistics section has multiple possibilities for expansion. For example, many people have discussed separating law enforcement training from lifeguard and EMS training. A training specialist working alongside the training officer could fill this role. Additionally, many agencies have a full-time recruiter. With our agency's ongoing recruitment and retention issues, some of which are unique to us, and some of which are part of the nationwide law enforcement shortage, it would be very beneficial to have a dedicated person tasked with attracting new talent. In the summertime, this person could serve double duty as the juniors coordinator. Finally, as staffing levels improve, you may see fit to open up additional special teams opportunities, all of which may fall under the logistics section. Did I not say something about this being budget neutral? These are rough estimates, and I do not have the exact numbers on these positions, but follow me through this. The Deputy Chief of Administration becomes the Administrative Captain, which saves money. The Training Captain becomes the Logistics Captain, which is neutral. The current Accreditation Manager becomes the Technology and Logistics Specialist, which is also neutral. A Training Officer is added, which costs money, and the Support Services Manager is removed, which saves money. While nothing has been said officially on the matter, all indications point to the Support Services Manager position being eliminated. Functions like budget have been handed to the Deputy Chief of Administration, while all supervisory roles have been divided between other people. The position's responsibilities have been written out of policy. At present, the position has no policy-mandated responsibilities and no employees to supervise. This has led us to plan based on the position not existing after October. When that happens, that position can be turned into the Low-Risk Technology and Logistics Specialist. The special risk position taking that role can be returned to operations for additional operations staff or can be swapped out with another operations position to create a recruiting and juniors coordinator or a training specialist. Last in our presentation, we did come up with a second model, the lean proposal. This model is more streamlined and actually saves money over the current model, but does sacrifice some of the functions provided by the functional proposal. This model only requires 3 captains, 2 watch commanders, and an administrative captain. All logistical functions would merge into the administration section. The biggest advantage here is that all support staff roles would fall under 1 captain. The senior staff assistant would take a greater supervisory role in this model, overseeing inventory and technology. The money saved in this model could pay for additional, much-needed line personnel. No logistics section means more would fall under the administrative captain. This means more to supervise and less to do on their own, so workload among administrative staff may increase. With no logistics captain to function as a relief for watch commanders, the deputy chief and even possibly the chief may need to fill in these roles to oversee daily beach operations when needed. To wrap all this up, what does our proposal accomplish? This model provides 24/7 supervision of the beach, a feature which we have lacked for many years. It provides clearer roles for the captains, allowing them to focus on specific areas of our agency and accomplish more. It improves the chain of command by making a straighter path from the line employee all the way to the top with singular points along the way rather than multiple. It improves morale as elements like improved efficiency, streamlined chain of command, and increased training opportunities will allow the line staff to focus more on operational duties and our mission. And finally, it does all of this while remaining relatively budget neutral. I'd like to thank you all for watching this proposal. If you have any questions, please do not hesitate in speaking with one of your union stewards. This has been a presentation by the Volusia Watermen's Association, Teamsters Local 385.